We're here. We're back. We have our first in-person guest with the new mics. So we got new mics. We got Anthony Messuri from Arlington, Massachusetts on it with us today, which is an absolute pleasure. We thank you for coming by.
Yeah, thank you for having me so much. It's great to be here and great to be with you guys finally. So.
Awesome.
Hey, thank you, Anthony. This guy is literally a living legend out of Arlington. We'll go into it, but changed the hockey program and did really big things. And he's got even bigger things coming.
Yeah, so I just actually recently met Anthony, I don't know, this summer, because he hangs out with some kids, mutual friends, and I met him at parties, and I got talking with him, and just the insight he shared, we had to get him on the podcast, and he was nice enough to come on. But just to give us a little background, you want to tell us who you are? I know I mentioned you're from Arlington. What are you doing? A big reason why we have Anthony on the podcast too, other than he's just a great guy, is he's a young person. You're 20, correct?
Yeah.
And he's committed. He's going to Northeastern for hockey. So we just think we're young too, and we're just trying to learn from other people that are young that have already obtained a lot of success in their life. He's not finished, but going D1 is a lot of people's dreams. So that's why we're just here to get some insight.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like I said, or like you said, I grew up in Arlington. Realistically, though, when I was younger, my dad was a big part of Winchester High School hockey. I think he spent from 96 to 2011 in Winchester at the high school coaching the hockey team, which was a lot of fun for him. I know he enjoyed it a lot and enjoyed the families and the people that he met through those experiences. And it allowed me to kind of be surrounded by people from two different towns. So I got a lot of experience, dealing with different families and the great families that are from Winchester and the great families that are from Arlington. So I have a lot of really close friends. I would say probably my closer friends now are from Winchester, which is really funny.
Interesting.
But yeah, my dad being a part of both those programs. Obviously, my dad and all of his brothers went to Arlington High School. But being a part of both towns and both programs growing up was very big for me.
What were the biggest things being part of both? Just meeting different types of people, or having those experiences?
I would probably say like the experiences that I was able to obtain. Obviously, Winchester High School hockey was very good for a very good stretch of time when I was younger. My dad coaching them through the Super 8 and winning a couple state championships with them. I was able actually to be on the bench for pretty much all the high school hockey games. My dad allowed me to. I had to put my helmet on and I was able to sit at the end of the bench and kind of really experience all the stuff that was going on firsthand. High school hockey games in front of big crowds. Seeing what the players were doing when I was 5-6 years old and seeing how they acted. And, you had players like Mike Seward and the Spang brothers come through who were unbelievably successful. Mike Seward played at Harvard and Dan Spang was an NHL draft pick for San Jose Sharks. So being surrounded by guys like that, I feel like really shaped me as a person growing up. And I was very fortunate to have the experiences that I did when I was so young.
Wow. Yeah, that is a huge thing, having people that are older than you so that you can kind of be a sponge. And was your dad also a huge part? Did he force you to come to the games, or did you voluntarily you just kind of fell into it? He didn't force you?
I loved being around hockey. Like I said, the crowds and the atmosphere that you get when you go to a high school hockey game like that, with great players and college coaches in the stands, it's just something that it's not able to be recreated by any other sport.
Yeah.
So I instantly fell in love with being at a high school game and being a part of that atmosphere. So it was, like I said, very fortunate, and it was all by choice. My dad never forced me. My dad actually, believe it or not, and we can touch on this a little bit later if you want, but my dad didn't want me to be a hockey player.
Wow.
So my grandfather actually is the one to credit in terms of bringing me to the rink and teaching me how to skate. And eventually I fell in love with it and I couldn't get away from it. And I also played other sports too, which I think is very important for younger people to do. And hockey was just my thing. It was always my thing.
That's awesome.
So why didn't he want you to do it? Just the pressure? Because I know there's a lot of times parents, especially parents, because for mine, like you told me your dad played at Princeton.
Yeah.
He's also mentioned as a legend in terms of being a hockey coach as well. Because we're from Winchester. We didn't play hockey, but we've heard about him. And then he took over Arlington. And then you have these parents that are really good that force their kids and just push them to a limit where they break.
Right.
Was that why he didn't want you to do it? Or?
I think growing up for my dad, he struggled a lot in terms of being noticed as a hockey player. He was a very good high school hockey player, but he was overlooked a lot by colleges and really never got recruited to a college. So he felt a lot of the stress that most people feel when they're trying to grow up and they're trying to make it in sports. And I don't think that he necessarily wanted me to have to go through what he went through and the struggle that he went through mentally and physically to be a hockey player. And it's very hard. And any athlete, right? Football, baseball, like whatever sport, like it's so hard to play the sport at a high level and succeed. And you know, the other aspect of it is mental health. Like it's a lot mentally to push yourself every day to be a high level athlete. And I think he just didn't really want me to have to go through all that. But my grandfather, like I said, he would steal me from the house back when we lived in a 2-family house in East Arlington. Yes. And he'd bring me up to the public skate, and we'd skate around for about an hour, and I'd push crates around, and eventually my dad figured out what was going on. And I guess by that point it was too late. I guess I was kind of invested in it. My grandfather was invested in it, and we just went from there. So it's really funny though, because I didn't actually hear about that till like 2-3 years ago. My dad admitted to me like, "Oh, I never wanted you to play the game. Papa was the one that taught you how to skate." And it's really funny because my grandfather was the one that taught my uncles and my dad to skate too. So all my uncles played at least 1 year in Division I college hockey, and they played some pro. Like a lot of my uncles played pro in Europe, and my dad played in the East Coast Hockey League and a little bit in the American Hockey League. He was on a contract with the Maine Mariners, who are now the Providence Bruins.
Okay.
That's big time hockey right there.
So yeah, just a lot of like historically, my family, my grandfather is breeding hockey players.
That's interesting, because the perception really is that they're hockey families who are diehard. So it's interesting your dad wasn't the one who went out and was like, "Oh, I'll get you to the rink at 5 a.m. or 10 p.m. at night." It was the grandfather. It sounds like he's got multiple generations now.
Yeah, we used to LeVar Ball over there.
LeVar Ball of hockey.
So then once you were committed to hockey, did your dad hop on board and was like, "All right, we're going to work with you to try to get you as good as you can possibly get"?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a fine line, and I think my dad did a phenomenal job at finding that line where it's like, okay, I'm not going to push him to the point where he hates me and he hates it.
Yeah.
I'm going to push him and I'm going to guide him to do the right stuff. And, when I was a kid, like, all I wanted to do was play Xbox and
same with us.
And run around with my friends and eat candy. And my dad would force me, like, there were things where he did force me to do stuff where, like, hey, you got to go shoot your pucks. You got to go stick handle for 10 minutes before you get on the Xbox. And I hated it. But eventually, like, I kind of got into a groove of, okay, well, this is what I have to do if I want to be good. And there's still time for other stuff. There's still time for hanging out with friends, and there's still time for Xbox, and there's still time for, eating a Hershey's bar.
Yeah.
But
on Halloween, 500 pieces of candy.
Let's go.
But you gotta do this stuff if you wanna succeed and you wanna do well. And eventually I found out that, I found out what worked for me, and I found out what I like to do and how I can manage my time to successfully kind of get all my stuff done and still have time for friends and family and having fun.
How old were you when you had that, not like a paradigm shift, but was it was probably just over time, but was there an age where you're like, all right, I know what to do now, or you still...
Yeah, I mean, so in 8th grade, I really started to shoot pucks more, and shooting pucks obviously is a big part of like a hockey player routine, and you have to shoot a ton of pucks if you want to score goals. And I was never a goal scorer, and really to this day, like, I'm still not much of a goal scorer. And more of my goals come from working hard and kind of banging stuff into the net.
Yes.
But eventually, like, I think one day I went out and shot like 3 buckets of pucks just because I had nothing else to do. I was bored, and I practiced the next day, and I came up for practice the next day. And I was just ripping the puck. And I was like, what happened? Like, what is going on? And I realized, like, my brain finally, like, put 2 and 2 together. I was like, wait, if I do this, like, I actually will see a difference.
Yeah.
And so that was really, like, the turning point for me in terms of, okay, like, the work that I put in will translate.
Yeah.
And once that started to kind of click, like, my sophomore year, or my freshman year, actually, my dad split a deal with someone who owned a synthetic ice rink. I don't know if you guys have ever been to Athletic Evolution.
Yeah, we've been there.
Went there. We used to do the workouts.
Yeah, there used to be
awesome.
I don't know if there is anymore, but there used to be a rink. I know they actually AE changed locations, right?
Yes.
So there used to be like that synthetic ice rink in the back.
Yeah,
and my dad was a part-time owner in that rink, and so I was I was there, and we'll get into this later on, but I was there all the time, shooting pucks all the time. Yeah. So it took a long time. Like, it took me like 2-3 years to actually get to where I quote unquote wanted to be in terms of being a high school hockey player.
Yeah.
But it was great to have that resource and to be able to use that resource.
Wow, that's interesting. Maybe while I was doing sprints over there on the turf, you were on the area right next door.
It's very
some
possible.
Shots. It's crazy how it all connects together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
I remember I was going to say, Brendan, we never played hockey, just that it's a lot to get into, and our family didn't want to make the commitment. But Brendan played lacrosse, and I remember he'd go outside and he would shoot on the net for hours on hours, just working the stick skills. And it sounds like you did the same thing.
Absolutely.
Do you think you have to start that from a young age, or could someone pick it up? Because there are some sports like football where if someone's a good athlete, they could start playing in college and be good. But it seems like hockey, you have to be consistent throughout and just maybe how have your routines changed over time?
I've seen, in me growing up, like I'm 20 years old now, so I've had really good experiences through playing hockey at a young age, and I think that playing hockey at a young age really helped me.
Yes.
But I have seen kids who picked it up in seventh grade, 8th grade, and they're playing college hockey now.
That's awesome.
So it's not, it's like, people think like, oh, if I don't start playing baseball or if I don't start playing lacrosse or hockey by, I think the age is like, the age in Arlington at least is like 3rd grade is like the age you need to start playing a sport at. I don't think that's necessarily true. I think some people are very naturally gifted as athletes, and they have the tools, and they just haven't been given like guidance that they need to play the sport. It's like I said, hockey, like it's a hard sport to learn. There's so much to learn. There's skating skills, there's stick skills, there's so much coordination involved in the game. But some kids have that natural ability to kind of just jump out there and be good. So I think that if it's never too late to start playing. Like if you love it, you love it. And, even if you don't play college sports at a high level, and if you just go play men's league on a Sunday night with some of your buddies, like
it's fun.
It's fun. Like that's what sports are all about. It's just having fun, and it's not all about crazy success and bright lights. It's all about having fun and making connections and being friends with people, and that's the entirety of sports is you meet new people. I wouldn't have met you guys if it wasn't for the Wilsons, and then we connected through like, okay, we're both athletes. Let's talk about this and this. Yeah. So that's the connection that sports has, and I think that overall is the most important thing about being an athlete is meeting new people and learning all about what the world is like and how to act.
I think giving back to the community. We were talking. He likes to help out with the youth hockey.
Nice.
Davis is actually a Winchester High School football coach.
That's
trying
awesome.
to give back and just do good things.
No
That's
doubt.
the biggest thing. Just get kids to make friends, go out, have fun, and have something to strive for.
Absolutely, yeah.
And learn life lessons through the way. Because you're learning through sports that you can then carry on to life. Like we're not playing sports anymore, but a lot of the lessons I learned in sports I'm using now in the business world.
Absolutely.
Maybe some pickup sports, some rec leagues, things like that. That's about it.
That's all that matters. All that matters.
But so I'll go into because I know you were mentioning how you're really calculated in your preparation, which I don't know if you want to share about that. I found that really, really interesting how you've kind of found what works for you. I don't know. I don't want you to give out the secret sauce.
Yeah.
But I just think it's important too, because I know growing up for me, let's say I'd go to a lacrosse game and we'd be playing LS and this kid would just be ripping. I'd be like, this kid's not human. But then you realize that this kid is putting those hours that you just don't see.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that for me, like, I talked about earlier, like finding what works for you and having a personal routine that you have to go through. And, like playing against, next year, like I'm going to be on a team with NHL draft picks, players like Aiden McDonough, who's our captain, who's an unbelievable guy, and Sam Colangelo, who's, a draft pick in the NHL, like Anaheim Ducks, and Jack Hughes, who was just drafted this year and for the LA Kings. And they all have these routines that I'm starting to see now, even before practice, the stuff that they go through, and it's not so calculated that like you can't go talk to them. But it's very cool to kind of see like the stuff that they go through in terms of like, okay, like a lot of times, like for me, like preparation for a game, like I have to eat at a very specific time. I have a very specific meal that I like to eat. I like to visualize a lot, so I kind of like to go through like almost like a game. Like I go through like a mini game in my head of like seeing all kinds of different plays and seeing myself catching a puck and making a pass to the slot and scoring a goal or having a really good back check. A lot of people, I think, they look over visualization a lot, and even then they look over the other aspects of visualization. So a lot of people will only see themselves scoring a goal or catching a touchdown pass. Yeah. But there's so much more to a game than just those plays. Like you gotta go through, like for me, like I visualize myself like making a pass through the middle or having a really good defensive play or making a good back check and clearing a puck out from the front of the net. Like just a lot of stuff. So, and it's proven that if you visualize and you see stuff before it actually happens, then you're more likely to be ready for it when something happens in a game. Say something goes wrong, and you mentally will be less cognitively you'll be more ready to make whatever play kind of comes to you if you visualize and you see beforehand. So I usually try to spend like an hour or so before the game, like before I leave. I like to get to the rink 2 hours early, so usually like 3 hours early. I'll spend an hour visualizing before I leave and kind of just walk myself through different kind of stuff.
Okay. And then when you're visualizing, do you ever visualize negative plays? And then how do you overcome? Because I say that because I tried doing some visualization back in high school. And before one of our sectional cross-country meet, I was like in my bed thinking about the race, and I was visualizing the point in the race where I'm going to feel like you need to quit. And I ended up seeing that, and I was in that position, and I ended up quitting in the race.
It's actually a really good question. I've never thought of that. That's a really good question.
Bad plays are going to happen, especially in hockey, but it's just part of the flow. And how do you, because your brain is so powerful.
It's definitely, it happens, right? Like you visualize and your brain, like there's, I see a sports psychologist every once in a while, and he calls it red brain, blue brain. And your red brain is your bad thoughts, the stuff that you don't want to think about, the stuff that kind of takes over, especially when you're nervous and in big situations. And, you start to go what they say red-brained, and it really can kind of screw you up. And there's also that other half, that blue brain, where it's, you're nice and calm and you're in control, and you kind of just feel like you're kind of floating through whatever experiences you're going through. And definitely like, I'll be visualizing and I'll see myself get scored on or make a bad play. And like you said, I think it's good to have those visualizations as well, because then in a game you can cognitively make that switch, and this is where this play happened, when I was visualizing, and I need to get to this spot now to prevent it from actually happening. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I don't think that all your thoughts should be like that. I think the majority of your visualization and your thoughts should be, you making good, solid, clean plays, and you kind of having to battle for a puck and then winning the puck battle and making a play to the slot or whatever else. But I think that's probably one of the better questions I've been asked about mentality and stuff. That's really cool to think about, actually, because I don't usually it happens when I visualize. But I've never thought about it. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? I've never actually thought about, okay, this is a bad play, and I can't let this happen in a game. It's more this is something that is possible, and I need to be ready for it to happen in a game if said play does happen.
Because just from growing up, some kids play scared. Some kids are like, oh, I can't make a mistake, but then they're just too tight. So maybe just those thoughts are going to come in and just kind of just filter them out. Do you have that next play mentality where if something bad happens, you're already on? Or do you ever oh man, I can't believe I made that play, and then it affects you later on in the game?
It's really hard. You guys know. It's so hard. When you make a bad play, especially through juniors, I struggled in juniors a lot mentally with trying to get to that next play mentality, because if you make a mistake and it's a bad one and it turns out in a goal, then you're going down in the lineup. There's nothing guaranteed. And even moving into college, so many guys, it's next guy up. You got to be able to make the right plays and make the smart plays and be consistent with those plays as well. And I think it's really hard when you make a bad play to kind of erase it from your mind. But that goes back to the blue brain, right? You got to find your blue brain, and you have to kind of reset. And for me, one of the things that me and my psychologist talk about is finding a color. So to reset, you have to find a reset button. And for me, when I'm in a rink, it's find blue. So it's the blue line or whatever logos are on the board. Just find blue, and then I kind of just reset from there. This is where I need to be. I can't control the past. I just gotta relax, take a breath, and then I'm good to go again. Like I'm ready for the next shift.
Yeah.
And that next shift, like especially me going into my freshman year of college, like might not be for another period.
Yeah.
But you just got to be ready. Like you have to be ready all the time. And if you're thinking and you're dwelling on that last play and you don't get a ton of shifts, you gotta make that shift count.
Yeah.
So you don't have time to dwell and kind of be upset over something that you can't control anymore. You kind of just got to move on and be ready for the next one.
Wow, that's a great thing. I'm gonna start doing that. Find a color, find that color, and get yourself back reset and just keep after it.
I think those colors are really interesting as well because blue is really calming. It's cool. Right. It's like the ocean. And you've got red is hot. You're ready to go out and get after it.
Yeah, absolutely.
One question I have as well about hockey is it's interesting because it's partially a skill sport. You have to have great stick skills, pass, but at the same time, it's really physical. Some of the collisions out there, open ice, people get really hurt. So how do you balance that in a game? Because I feel like you could go off, get a 5-minute major for fighting and ruin your game.
It's a lot. It has a lot to do with the question that he asked too. With like, okay, do you dwell on those bad plays and you take a penalty? Like it might be a bad one. Same thing. Like you got to just kind of move on. And it's hard. Like you have to be very quick thinking, especially like in hockey and in football too. Like when the play starts, like you got to be ready to. There could be a guy blindsiding you on your right, and you might not even see him, but you need to be very very aware of your surroundings, and that has to do with the visualization as well, and understanding how the game works and how the game flows. And some people don't understand, like, people say it's the fastest game in the world, but it's also very, very structured. Mm-hmm. So, if I'm a center, I'm not going to be back with the defenseman. No. I'm going to be up in the play playing forward unless we're in the D zone. So there's a time and a place for everything. And the more that you learn about the way that the game works, then the better suited you'll be for someone maybe coming in and trying to kill you.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with football, right? Like you need to brace for a hit. You need to be able to get rid of, like for me, like I'm not a very big guy. I need to be able to make my play and then still have time to move out of the way of a big hit. If some guy's 6'6" and he can skate well. Yeah. He's got his pickings with me.
He's a force to be reckoned with. Yeah, you got Char out there.
I gotta be ready to kind of make my play and then also give myself time to move out of the way. And then even after that, like what's gonna happen after that? Am I gonna move out of the way and then get the puck back, or am I gonna have to set a pick for this guy and kind of just take the hit and soak it and take the hit in a way where I'm not gonna get hurt?
Yes.
But I can still kind of brace myself and take the full brunt, if that makes sense.
Yes. Yeah, take care of yourself and make the plays that matter.
Absolutely.
All right, I'm gonna go back a little bit to your high school days, because high school hockey is
time for the story.
Yeah, we got to hear about it. So in high school hockey in Mass, there used to be the Super 8 they got rid of it, right?
Yeah, unfortunately.
So the Super 8 were the top 8 teams in the public Catholic conference, correct? I guess you could probably explain it better, but there's just like top 8 teams that go for the ultimate state title.
Yeah.
And it's pretty much a battle, but because there's a Catholic league it's pretty much private schools. So then you got some private schools that recruit kids from all over the state, wherever, and then you got some public schools, and there's also a little battle between public and private. And I don't know if it's rare, but it's not. It's usually a Catholic school that wins. Like Malden Catholic, I remember back in the day, they won it seemed like every year.
8 in a row, yeah. That's crazy.
So then when a public school goes in and wins, it's a big deal. So I know you won in 2017, right? And then did you win another one, or was that the only one?
I'll get more into my senior year later.
Yeah, so if you want to just walk us through that.
But my freshman year, I still hadn't really grown into my body yet. I wasn't a great skater. I was very undersized. I only had one goal actually my freshman year, the entire year, and it was against Winchester.
Hey, let's go.
And
who'd you score on?
I remember Chris Wilson was on the ice actually.
Yeah.
He blocked my shot, and then it came right back to me, and I put it home.
Hey, shout out to the Wilsons right here.
I'll have to show you guys the video after we're done with this, but yeah, I wasn't a huge difference maker. I was the third, fourth line guy, and they really just put me out on the ice because I was good defensively, and they knew that I wasn't really gonna get scored on. So it gave the goal scorers some time to get some rest and back on the ice and play it to their full potential, because we had guys like Mick Curran, who is one of the all-time leading scorers at Curry College for Division III, and he was leading the country in scoring for a very long time, and he actually transferred to Utica now, which is arguably the top Division III program in the country. Peter Shescherig, played at Connecticut College, unbelievable player. Kevin Ouellette, who plays at St. Anselm's right now. I think he actually just graduated, but we had all these guys who, Johnny Piggott, who just won he just won a Division II championship with Assumption. Like, we had all these guys that could play. And I kind of was just along for the ride, but it was an awesome experience to be a part of a team. I can't remember the exact number of public schools that had won the Super 8 before us. I think Reading was one of the few, and that was back in like 2007, maybe 2009. I'd have to look it up, but we're the first. Arlington's the first ever public school to win the Super 8 twice. No other team's ever done it. You have all these Catholic schools, like you said, that consistently win it all the time, and what my teams were able to do, and what my teammates were able to kind of do with our team, and my dad, coaching us really well and coaching us around the disabilities that we had, including like you said, not being able to recruit players.
Yeah.
It was really, really special to be a part of that, and I learned so much, especially my freshman year when I wasn't playing that much, and I did play in the Garden game, but I didn't play a ton.
Mm-hmm.
But still, like, my shifts, like, I remember vividly coming onto the ice for my first shift that game, and I just kind of like looked around for a second, and I just was like, I saw a sea. It was like a sea of maroon. Just all Arlington people, like the Garden,
crazy.
like the Garden, like the whole town was there. It felt like, and just looking up, and it kind of almost like calmed me down. You know what I mean? I was like, wow, like this is for real. And being 14 years old and being in that position in front of 12,000 people, I think the number was 11,000.
That's a lot of people.
Was crazy. It was crazy. So those experiences, I think, the experiences that I had when I was young in high school. Really shaped me, and they shaped me. Like that's another thing that really helped me kind of love hockey. Was like, I want to do this, and I want to be able to like make a difference in those games now. So that's when I kind of really turned on my work ethic and really went quiet, if that makes sense, and kind of just did my own thing and was very to myself. And a lot of high school, I didn't really go out that much. My freshman year, I only went out like twice, I think, and then after that, like I didn't really ever go out until my senior year, and I was very, very just kind of like hockey focused, and it kind of hurt a little bit because my friends, like in high school, like the kids who I was very closest with, like because I wasn't coming out all the time, like I wasn't really, when I did want to go out, I wasn't invited out.
Yeah.
So it helped me too. Like it pushed me to kind of be like, okay, well, I'm not gonna be able to go out tonight, so I might as well go do something productive while everyone else is kind of having fun.
Yeah.
So it was really, really like the experiences that I had, especially freshman, sophomore year, were they shaped me to this day. Like they really do. And the work ethic that I had back then and that I developed as a sophomore was, they still stick with me right now. Like, I think about, when I like sometimes, because as we get older, right, there's more distractions, and you start making money and you want to go spend it. And, I try to think back to like the way my mentality was back then. Like, okay, like, what'd you do today to make yourself better? Because realistically, like, you're always competing with somebody, whether it's in the business world or whether you're working or playing sports or whatever it is. Like, there's someone that's doing 5 minutes more work than you, and 5 minutes more work every day adds up to a lot in a year. Mm-hmm. So you're tired, but you got to keep moving. Like, you got to keep pushing. And a lot of times, like, I'm still very like to myself about the way I go about my things. Like, even my parents are very oblivious to my habits, and my dad sees them more than my mom does. Obviously, my mom's just kind of along for the ride.
Just guiding you along, making sure you behave yourself.
She makes sure I'm eating right, and it does the stuff that my dad would be able to do, like cooking me dinner and making sure that I have the food that I need to fuel myself to accomplish these goals. But it's like I said, there's always this mentality for me of like someone's doing more.
Yes.
Like you gotta keep going. Like waking up early stinks. I see your videos all the time on Instagram. Like
it's never easy when you just have to get up and get moving.
It's the worst. Especially like now that I'm in classes, like waking up, I'm up till midnight doing homework, and then I'm getting 5.5 hours of sleep, and then I'm up again, and I'm going right to the gym. And it's hard. Like sometimes I sit up in my bed and I'm seriously like, this stinks. Like, why would I do this to myself? But then you get back to the opportunity of playing at such an incredible school like Northeastern, and it's really all worth it. Like for me, Northeastern was always a dream to go to, and it's the stuff that I did, and you could say it's suffering, but I realistically, like, I don't regret anything that I did back in high school with all the time that I spent, and it was very overlooked as well. Like, my dad being my coach, my freshman year, people were saying that I shouldn't be on the team, which probably could have been true, right? Like I wasn't a great player, but my freshman, like in between my freshman and sophomore years, when I really made my jump, and I started lifting at Boyles. I'll give Mike Boyle at Boyles over there in Woburn a lot of credit. He turned me into an athlete. All the work that I did in the gym over there, and actually gaining the muscle that I needed to be strong on my skates, and it changed my skating too, because once you have leg muscles, then you can push, right? Mm-hmm. So the way that I went about my stuff back then it became very calculated, and I'm still like that to this day. Like a lot of people, like I said, didn't realize what I was doing, and so it was always like, oh, he's on the power play because of his dad, or oh, he is only doing this because of his dad, or oh, he only has this opportunity because of his family name. And that wasn't the case, because while everyone else was out like partying and having a good time, I was sitting by myself with my headphones on, shooting pucks until and this is another thing that, and I can't remember the name of, and I feel so bad about this, but I can't remember the name right off the top of my head because I haven't talked to him in a while, of a young man who goes to UMass, and he actually wrote an article about my upbringing and my story. Really? And it's a phenomenal article. He did an unbelievable job. But he really goes into depth, and we did interviews like this for hours of what it took for me to kind of get to where I wanted to be personally, and then even further than that. So I would spend after school, I'd get out of school at 2:30, and I'd go to my dad's synthetic rink, and I'd shoot for 3 hours, and then I'd go get something to eat. Then I'd come back and I'd do my homework at the rink. Like there was a table there, and I'd do my homework there. And then I would shoot pucks until like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, go to bed, and then immediately in the morning I'd wake up again, go back to Woburn, which was 15 minutes away from my house, and then like 25 minutes away from the high school. I'd wake up, I'd go shoot pucks before school, I'd shower at the gym, and then I'd go to school, and then I'd come back and repeat it.
Wow, so that's next level.
And so the stuff that I was doing and it was great. I loved it because nobody saw it.
Yeah.
Right. So people, it actually like started to feel good when people were like, oh, well, on the ice, like chirps would come in like, oh, how's your dad? Like, you're only here because of your daddy, and it's you're not like, you might be right. Like I tell them, yeah, you might be right, but in reality, like, they don't know. Like, they don't know what I'm doing. They don't know the stuff that I'm going through to get myself to this level. And over the years, that really, really, really started to translate. And I really was able to start kind of being successful in terms of being in a team setting. And I feel like that's very overlooked as well. As like people look at hockey players as individuals, and they're not. You have to be surrounded by incredible players to be good.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, even how they switched the lines up. Yeah, that was insane awesome. Insight right there.
Dude, there's a lot there's a lot to compact or get out of that. That was awesome.
I've got a quote right here. I have a takeaway right away. Just talking about all the closeness with your dad and how people might view it as a negative or a positive. I think it's awesome because you probably got to spend countless hours and just the family bonds that you can't replace.
Absolutely.
And a lot of times people say like second generation, this, that, but I think they don't look at a lot of the key figures in history who are either second, third, or fourth generation. I think the best example is Alexander the Great. He was third generation running the empire, and it took him to really open it up. So who knows, whether it's you, maybe you have kids who take it to a whole nother level. I think people should just be more open to it because sometimes it takes greatness to build more greatness.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and people always look down on that, like nepotism and this and that. And that's funny that you say that because I'm not going to say who's. I've heard people say, "Oh, he's only playing at Northeastern because of his dad."
Right.
And you probably get that all the time.
Yeah, I do. And you know what? Like I struggle, and I'll give it. I won't give myself any breaks. Like I struggled in junior hockey. I struggled a lot mentally, physically, and I fought injuries as well. I fought a pretty bad back injury that went misdiagnosed for a really long time. So I was playing through. I mean, I don't even know how I was doing it. I was playing through such an incredible amount of pain that it was like I couldn't put my shoes on. I couldn't tie my skates.
Insane.
I couldn't get dressed. I couldn't put my pants on. Like I couldn't do anything. And I was still playing.
Yeah.
And so it made me, for a very short amount of time, hate hockey, because it was just causing me so much emotional and physical pain, and I was in so much stress, and I thought that, like, I'm never going to be able to, like, I'll never recover from this. Like, I still to this day, like, I have no sensation on this outside part of my right thigh because of the nerve damage that was done in my back. And it was just, I couldn't sleep. I lost my appetite, I lost weight. I was just a mess. And I didn't have a lot of points. I played on 5 teams in 2 years. I got traded a lot, which didn't help mentally either, because I didn't have any friends that I could be with for more than a couple weeks at a time. And so it's not crazy for me to hear that now, because I, like, in high school, like, it was different because I was relatively successful, and I could be like, okay, yeah, right, buddy. Like, but now it's like, okay, well, you can say that, and I have nothing to back it up with. Yes. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't really have a lot of points. I didn't do anything crazy, and didn't win any awards. And that, not saying that's what it's about, but at least if I had done something special, then I would have something to back up my claim of, like, no, I'm going here for a reason. So it was hard for me to kind of hear that, because it eventually did get in my head a little bit. Before, it never got in my head, but now I got to the point where I was like, I'm not doing anything. Like, they might be right. Like, I might not make it.
Yeah.
And then I kind of just had to reset myself and say, like, okay, like, Northeastern, they're not giving up on me, and they didn't.
Nice.
Which was phenomenal. I'm really sad to say this, but one of the coaches who I was closest with, he just stepped down from his position. Actually, he was an assistant coach, Coach Mike McLaughlin.
Yes.
He was an unbelievable guy, really great coach. All the coaches at Northeastern are great. Jerry Keefe's unbelievable guy off the ice. Really knows what he's doing. He took over the team, I think last year was his first year. Before that, it was Coach Madigan, who was a Northeastern alum, and he did an unbelievable job. I mean, they won multiple bean pots in a row. And they've just been building that program up over the years. But Coach McLaughlin was the one that called me almost every single day and, would talk to me. And you don't get that out of a lot of college coaches, you know what I mean? He was really, really special. And I still talk to him now to this day. Like, he didn't resign long ago. I think it was a few weeks ago, but I've been texting with him still. And, like, he's somebody who I give so much credit to, like, keeping me locked in and keeping me kind of centered, so I wouldn't give up, because he knew that if I could kind of keep myself in it, then I would be able to get through it. And giving up was really never an option for me. And I know my dad was doing an unbelievable job at pushing me as well. But hearing those claims is always hard, especially when you don't have something to back up your own success. Like, when you don't have success, it's hard. It's the same thing with, like, people that grow up in rich families.
Yeah.
It's like, they'll always hear the whole, like, oh, it's daddy's money thing, no matter how hard they work.
Yeah.
Like, they could throw away all their parents' money and give it all back, and work their ass off, and buy a Ferrari.
Yeah.
And someone would be like, oh, it's your dad's money. It's not always true. Like, people don't understand. It's people make claims, and it's understandable, right? Like I don't, I'm not angry at anyone who's ever said that to me.
Yeah.
And it's almost pushed me to be better. Like, I don't look at somebody who says, oh, like, this is the only reason you're doing this is because of your dad, and the only reason you're going to Northeastern is because of your dad. Like, I don't look at them and I'm like, screw you.
Yes.
It's like, okay, like, you know what? If someone told you that and they had a very good explanation to back it up, then I don't blame you for thinking that.
Yes.
Because it almost looks like it's true. But people who know me, my dad and my family and my closest friends, like, they know what I go through, and they know that the stuff that it takes and the stuff that I've done has really set me up to at least be a part of the program next year. Whether I play a single game or not next year, I'm just happy to be a part of such an incredible program. I know my teammates already somewhat, and they're such great guys. I have nothing bad to say about any of them. They've been so nice, and it's almost like a great reset, because I came in, like, in juniors, like, everyone's judging. That's the worst thing about juniors, and we can get into junior hockey
Everyone's
later.
Everyone's trying to prove himself every day.
But, like, everyone's like, your teammates aren't even your teammates. You're fighting for them. Like, you're fighting against them.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing in college. You're fighting for a spot, but at least you have this camaraderie of, like, okay, well, we wear the same jersey, and none of us are going anywhere.
Yeah, and you have a common goal too.
Right. So it's It's definitely different, and it's great to be a part of a program that is so centered around culture.
Yeah.
And like I said, like, you know, guys like Aiden McDonough, who's our captain this coming year, like, he's been so good to me, like, just so good to me so far, and it's awesome. And some of the incoming freshmen, like, we're all very close already, like guys like Jackson Dorrington and Jack Williams, Jackson Dorrington actually just got drafted by the Vancouver Canucks, which is awesome for him.
Oh, that's big time.
He's a great kid. I was actually just on the phone with him last night. We were doing homework together. But yeah, like, some of these guys, man, like, it's just so special. It really is.
Teams.
It's like I'm in high school hockey again, and I'm kind of enjoying myself, and kind of just along for the ride, you know?
Yeah. You're there with your friends playing, just
Yeah.
like back in the day, because that's the most special part about it.
Absolutely.
Really, just all the fun. And I just like the constant hunger that we hear from you, because you're always saying, oh, if I have enough to back it up right now. Because if you look at your resume, you've got tons to back it up. One of the only public school titles, star player. I mean, you said you weren't a goal scorer. You're out there averaging like a goal a game all over the place. So just the humbleness right here. It's awesome, because literally it's a living legend, but still it's not enough, and you're striving, and you're surrounded by great people to get you to that next level that you want.
Absolutely.
The team.
I guess another question that I have that you brought up earlier about, because in order to get good at something, you have to sacrifice something. And as you mentioned, it sounds like you sacrificed your social life in a way in high school. And that's Davis and I actually, we didn't really go out a lot in high school either. So I relate with you about how there was nights where you wouldn't be doing anything, you'd see kids out, but you kind of get like that. I don't know, at least for me, you get FOMO, fear of missing out.
Yeah.
And it's tough sometimes when you see everyone out having a good time, and you probably question, is this really worth it? Like, all these kids are having a good time. And another thing too is that when you go back to the locker room, because I remember after like Saturday morning practices, everyone would be like, yo, last night was crazy, dude. Oh my God, this happened, and then you're just kind of sitting there like, all right, cool.
Yeah, right.
So it's a little awkward, but yeah, I guess, do you regret missing out on, because what I've learned too, just speaking off my personal experience in high school, I didn't really go out at all, pretty much focused on sports. But then once I got to college, I was so burnt out, and I felt like I was missing out, and all the problems I had in high school were because I wasn't going out. So in college, I went totally opposite end, where I was going out like 3-4 times a night, a week, drinking a ton. But then I realized that's not sustainable.
Right.
And now I'm focused on finding this balance where I'm going out, having a good time, getting that out of my system, but at the same time, I'm still focused on my goals. Where are you at or did you even have that FOMO or?
I did, yeah. No, like you said, coming back into the locker room and hearing, my teammates talk about like Friday night and what they were doing and the parties, whatever, like, it was hard. It was really hard to hear that. And I kind of just had to put my head down and just kind of turn it off and zone it out. Because it was really hard to see the Snapchat stories and to see the messages and the videos of everyone going out and having a great time, and I'm sitting here by myself, and like you said, like thinking about, like, is it worth it? And thankfully it was. Yeah. Right. So far, at least, I haven't played a single game for Northeastern yet, and I hope that I do eventually have the opportunity to play in a game. But it's hard to listen to all that stuff, and for younger kids especially, like I try to tell my brother this, like, guys will always be trying to flex something on you. You know what I mean? Like, it's always who has more.
Yeah.
And we live in a generation in a world of social media where people have these fake lives they live, and everyone goes on vacation, and the first thing they do is post a picture of it instead of like getting off a plane and being like, wow, I'm here.
Fun.
Yeah, like, I'm here. Like, this is great. Like why do this is such a big thing for me. Like, why do you, and this is what I tell myself, right? When I'm doing something special, like when I'm in the Cape with my family and I see something beautiful, like a sunset or whatever, it's like, why does anyone else have to see this? I'm with the people that I want to be with. I'm with my family. I'm with the people I love. What's the benefit of putting this out on social media so someone else can see it and say, I wish I was there? Like, I don't get any satisfaction out of that. You know what I mean? And some people do, but to each their own. Like, it's not for me.
Yeah.
So I do have Instagram, obviously. Like, I have all the social media apps. I have Snapchat and Twitter, and I have notifications turned off for all of them. Like, I won't get notified when a notification pops up, just because I don't want to have that distraction.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Especially when I'm doing homework or like shooting pucks or whatever. I don't want to have to like look at my phone, because it's addicting. Like, it really is addicting.
Yeah, you can waste time.
And like I I'll sit down on Instagram at one point or another. The only app that I actually don't allow myself to have is TikTok.
Oh yeah.
Don't let myself have TikTok.
Yeah.
Because I'll just sit there and like zone out and like scroll for like an hour.
Yeah.
And it'll be like 10 minutes. Yeah. And I'll just look up and I'll be like, wow, it's dark out. Like what happened? But yeah, no, the FOMO is for sure like a real thing, and kind of just had to work myself around that, you know.
And if you believe in what you're doing, it's, hey, I'm on my path to greatness. So that's where, because for me now, I'm over that point where I miss out. Because I know most nights go the same way. When you're going out, people get drunk, they'll like do maybe something crazy, but then they wake up the next morning feeling terrible.
Right. And that whole next day is a mess. You can't really do much productive stuff that next day.
So if you got goals and you're going after it, it justifies not wanting to go out. But I feel like a lot of young people, especially in high school, struggle with that. Because in America, I don't know if it's just America, but there's this party culture.
Not just America, America.
Right.
There's party culture, so
it
it throws people off their grind sometimes. But that was great insight.
No, and I think that, you know, and now definitely too, like it's not that I don't go out now, you know what I mean? Just like you, I have to find a balance.
Yeah.
So I have, I have my very close friends like Michael Martinetti and Ian Wilson. You know, you guys know the Wilson's family very well. And the Marinos and the Hools and the Hausers, who all live around here.
All great families in town.
Yeah.
All of them.
And, you know, I still go out with them, but it's also great to have a selective group of guys who also have similar goals.
Yes.
And that's why I think me and my friends get along so well, is because we all have similar goals. So we know, like, this weekend, you know, we're not doing anything crazy.
Yeah.
Because we have stuff this week. Or, like, maybe Saturday, like, I can't go out Saturday night because I'm skating Sunday. And that's just the sacrifice you make. Like, you can't always be going out every night, and people get that terrible habit of, I got to be out all the time.
Yeah.
Like, this is my lifestyle. Like, I got to be out here, and I got to do this, and I got to go do this, and it's just not healthy. And some people are able to work around it, and maybe as you get older, you know, you have a job and you're able to do stuff like that. But like for athletes like me and my friends who, you know, PJ Hauser, who just became he's just gone into the Arlington Fire Department. It's been a dream of his whole life.
Awesome. That's big time. Our cousin, same thing, Winchester Fire Department.
So he's another guy who takes his lifestyle incredibly seriously. You know, like he's like, okay, well, I can't go out because I got to be up in the morning. Yeah. And he's not even an athlete, but he's still saying, okay, well, I have to go do productive stuff in the morning.
Yeah.
I can't be out tonight.
Yeah.
I can't go out and have any beers. I can't go do this or that. I gotta be in bed by 7 so I can get my full sleep, so I can, you know, get on this fire truck and go save a life tomorrow.
Yeah, it is probably a lot more important, literally, life and death. You need your focus.
So yeah, but he's like I said, he's an incredible guy. He's been working on ambulance for 2 years. He's the amount of lives that he saved is
the situation.
Crazy.
Yeah, that's real pressure.
It's crazy. Like the stories that he tells me are wild of him. You know, doing CPR and, you know, guy coming like he's doing CPR and suddenly a guy comes back. It's like crazy. Bring guys back to life. You know what I mean? Like it's nuts. So he's someone that I also look up to a lot.
Yes.
In terms of his lifestyle and the way he lives, because he's very good guidance, and it's great to be friends with someone like that, because maybe I got to do something productive tomorrow. And if I had a friend that would say, "Oh no, dude, like it can wait, like you got to come out with us," then I probably would, right? Because you're influenced very heavily by the people you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
So I'm a big believer in, you know, surround yourself by people who have similar goals than you and similar lifestyles.
Yeah, no, I agree, because a lot of successful people will say, show me the 5 people around you and I'll show you where your life's going. I mean, that's a general thing, but something too that's been ringing in my head, because Davis and I talked about this a few weeks ago, is that we heard this on another podcast. Professionals make decisions based off commitment. Amateurs make decisions based off emotion.
Yeah.
So it's not, because everyone, especially Davis, sometimes I talk to Davis like, oh, dude, how do you get up so early? How do you get, people are like, oh, how do you do that? But I guess if you have, for you, it's not easy. I don't think enough people understand that. People are just like, oh, it's easy for him. It's easy for Davis waking up early, but it's the same. You guys are humans, and
yeah, no, it's not.
It's brutal.
It's not. It's not easy. You got to really, and you know this better than anybody, because I see, like I said, your videos all the time. It's all about time management. You got to be able to manage your time and make time for stuff. Like you have homework too that you've been doing, right? Or your seminars or the business stuff that you've been doing?
Yes, yeah. I'm studying for the CFA. And even today, before he came over, I struggled with the time management. I was getting angry. I was like, I haven't put enough time aside.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to really focus in and make sure in the month of August I focus a lot.
Yeah.
Get the study hours in. But you're right, it's not difficult. I was getting all fired up this morning, but I guess you just have to calm down and just do what you have to do.
Find blue.
Yeah, you got
I was like, get out of here. But I guess
it's
whatever
very
it takes to motivate people, whether it's anger, sadness, excitement, as long as it gets the good results and it's not hurting anyone.
Yeah, you gotta have a reason.
That's
You always
it.
gotta find a reason.
Find the why.
Yeah. So if
Something
you have a
you
reason,
adapt
then
to.
you'll have more motivation to always do stuff. So
And then a quick thing, you saying you shooting pucks for 3 hours. What do you listen to? Music or you listen to podcasts?
You have a favorite song?
I listen to music. I used to be. I'm very big into like I've listened to the same music since I've been in high school.
Nice.
Just kind of like the same genres, and I'm a big EDM guy.
Okay.
I don't like to listen to. I don't like to listen to rap all the time, especially the rap that. I'm a couple of my favorite artists are like Travis Scott. Just because like I can't listen to the guys who talk about killing all the time and like drugs and stuff. 'Cause it's just not like I can't be shooting pucks and thinking about like some dude doing a drug. You know what I mean?
Like, lifestyle.
It's the same playlist that I've had for a very long time, and I keep adding songs to it. I think it's like 49 hours long now.
Holy cow.
Wow.
It's been the same playlist since my freshman year. But it's good to have that playlist as well, because I go back to those songs that I listened to when maybe I was struggling or having a tough time kind of getting through stuff. And then, there's songs on there as well that I have unbelievable memories with, memories with my friends and great memories of successful games that I've played. And it's great to have a mix of that music, because I feel like for me, music is so visual for me. I listen to a song and like it'll take me back to like a very specific point in time, and I don't know why or how that happens. I don't know if that happens for other people, but it's just for me. That's kind of how it works, and I use music to kind of just. I don't listen to music if I'm not like this is the funny thing is I don't listen to a ton of music in the car unless like I'm with people, and I also don't listen to a ton of music. Actually, I very very rarely ever listen to music if I'm not doing it. Like people sit down with their headphones on. And just kind of like sit there and listen to music. Like I can't do that because I'm a terrible multitasker. First of all, I can't like be distracted by anything.
Yeah, I'm the same thing.
And then it's just like I save the music for when I need to be motivated and I need to have a reason to kind of use it.
Yeah, that's a lot of good insight.
Lots of those. A lot of really similar things to what I hear Brandon saying too. Because
yeah.
Brandon was like, I don't know how people listen to music all the time. I just listen in the podcast too. I think I was like, how do you make time to listen to podcasts? Brandon's always like, I'm doing something else.
Yeah.
So it fits in.
It's kind of because we've been talking about a lot of hockey mindset. What are things you like to do outside of hockey?
My life is very centered around hockey, unfortunately, and sometimes it's a bad thing. Sometimes it's a good thing. Like you need to have balance, obviously. But I love to spend time with my friends, and I like to play video games as well.
Okay.
So I play Xbox every once in a while. I was actually just playing Xbox with some of my Northeastern teammates before I came over here.
What are you playing, Fortnite?
I used to be a big Fortnite guy. Actually,
Fortnite
people chirp me all the time. I used to love Fortnite.
No, I love Fortnite back in the day.
But and then Minecraft as well is a great one. I'll get chirped for that. I'll get chirped for that all day. Like I'll take that. But like Minecraft's a great game to just sit down and relax and kind of be engulfed in your own little like separate world, if that makes sense. But yeah, right now I'm on a Call of Duty binge.
Okay.
I'm terrible at the game, like terrible. But my friends, which is awesome, my teammates, they still play with me just because it's kind of fun to be on the comms and be talking and shooting the crap with them.
Yeah.
It's just really
It's
a
like
great
they're
time.
right in the same room. pretty
Exactly,
much.
yeah. It's like hanging out with them. So it's awesome. And then trying to think of like what else I like to do. Like it's all very situationally based.
Yeah.
I love to be out in the water and go on my boat or Michael Martinetti's boat. I like to swim, so I like to be in the pool.
Nice.
I like to golf. Actually, I like to golf here and there now.
Yo,
I actually
there we
just
go.
started golfing. Just started golfing this summer because my back was so bad that I couldn't do it.
Wow.
But then I got back into it. I used to play a lot with my dad. I used to play like every other night with my dad when I was a kid. We're members up at Oakley Country Club in Watertown, which is a great spot. And I used to be up there all the time with him. But since I hurt my back, it's been tough to swing a club.
Yeah.
So now just kind of being able to do that again is really nice, because that's another great thing where you can kind of go out there by yourself and it's very quiet and peaceful, and you kind of just are able to whack the ball around. And some people find it very frustrating.
Yeah.
But if I hit a bad shot, like I just kind of laugh it off because I know that I'm not doing it seriously. Like
you're just out there to have a good
if
time.
I was shooting pucks and I was very inconsistently like shooting the puck, then I would be frustrated because that's what I do. Like that's my thing. But for golf, like it's very relaxing for me to just kind of like go throw the ball around and have a good time. So.
Does the hockey swing translate to the golf swing? You're out there bombing drives.
So this is crazy. Right? This is the craziest thing ever. I swing a golf club righty.
Yep.
But I shoot a hockey puck lefty.
Oh.
I swing a baseball bat righty. Or I swing a baseball bat lefty, but I throw righty. I putt lefty in golf. I write righty. So like I'm all over the map in terms of like I don't really have a dominant hand. I can't write with this hand. Like I can if I had to. I actually broke this hand really bad my freshman year of high school in a hockey game against Catholic Memorial. And I had to write with this hand for a while, and eventually I just gave up and started writing like this. So it was pretty funny, but I've been I don't know where I got it from. I guess my dad is the same way.
Yeah, probably born that way.
Yeah, I just kind of learned to, because my dad always had righty clubs as a golfer, and so always swung a baseball bat lefty, and just the way I grew up.
Yeah.
So I've always kind of been that way, and people laugh at me all the time, and I laugh at myself because I didn't realize until like recently, like a couple of years ago, like it's weird. Yeah. It is really weird, like the way I do stuff.
It's all swinging. It's the same motion.
I know. Yeah, it's so weird. But it's awesome to kind of be a little bit different that way too.
Yeah, it probably gives you an edge too, learning things with your offhand quicker.
What do we think? Because I know we've been going for a while. Do we want to come away with some key takeaways? Do you want to keep going? We just want to make sure we're always respectful, because otherwise we'll talk
I'm
all
good.
day.
If you guys want to keep going, like I'll keep going. I got nowhere to be. So
let's go.
I got two more questions. So one is the recruiting process. What was that like going to? Because we see it with other sports. A lot of kids. You even mentioned going to juniors is a big thing with hockey. But you see all these kids like, I have to go to private school to get recruited by the top teams. Yeah. I don't know what it's like in hockey, but because I know a lot of kids end up playing juniors regardless. Yeah. But what was your decision through going to Arlington High, and then how did Northeastern find you?
This is a big thing that I like to talk about a lot. I love to talk about it. It's one of my favorite things to talk about because me and my dad have always been like super, super big advocates of you don't have to go to prep school. If you're good enough, they will find you. And so when I really kind of made my jump to being a little bit of a better player in between my freshman and sophomore year. My sophomore year, I think halfway through the season, maybe a little bit more, I took my first tour at Boston College, and didn't get any offers. Like they didn't even sit me down and really talk to me. They kind of just showed me the facilities, and that was an even bigger driver to kind of like, okay, well wow, this is what it's like. Like this is what playing at a really high end Division I school is like. This is what I want to do. But I also wanted to do it my own way. Mm-hmm. I really wanted to stay at public school and be with my friends and not go away, play for my dad in my town. I'm very proud of where I'm from. And Arlington has such a rich hockey history, one of the most incredible programs in the country's history for high school sports. And it was harder to get recruited because I was doing that and I was staying around. Mm-hmm. But I was also told by prep school coaches that I wasn't good enough to come play for them. So it was also an incentive to kind of stick around.
And then you went out and beat them in the title.
Yeah, right. Like, I remember taking a tour, and I won't name any schools or anything, but I went to go take a tour at a school that like a legit prep school that plays. I forget what league they play in, but it was like a sleepaway school. And sat down, and like the first thing the coach asked me when I sat down with him was like, okay, well, like where, what schools have talked to you so far, like colleges? And I was like, well, like BC, and then at that point I had also taken a tour at Babson, and he kind of just like looked at me. We talked about some stuff, and he was like, well, we don't really think we have a spot for you. And so I was just like, okay, like that's fine. And that was another thing that just added on to the fuel, like logs on the fire. And went back, and I was like, I want to do it my own way. Like I want to do it through Arlington. I want to make this town proud. I want this town to have a reason to brag about the hockey program, and I want to win another state championship after my freshman year. And so I went a really long time without having any colleges call me, look at me, whatever. I went 3 years. So from my sophomore year to the beginning of my senior year. So I would probably say 2 years. Didn't get a single call. And was coming down to the wire. And I was starting to get a little bit worried. And eventually, like, I started playing for this team. I'm actually wearing the shirt right now called the Cape Cod Whalers. And they provided me an unbelievable opportunity to play with unbelievably highly talented players like Riley Durant and Brendan Dumas and David Sacco. Riley Durant actually just went to Boston Bruins development camp as well. And playing with those guys, like bringing myself to an even higher level, was just an unbelievable experience. And I remember there was one game where I noticed that the Northeastern coach was there. And I didn't know like who he was watching, whatever, but I know I knew the following weekend was what my dad calls the high school showcase, the Massachusetts High School Showcase, which is only MIAA players can take part in it, and it was actually at Northeastern. And so the Northeastern coaches held like a seminar there, and they talked to us. And first game in that in that tournament, I had 5 goals.
5 goals?
Yeah.
Wow.
And the Northeastern
shots.
The Northeastern coaches were there, and I think that might have kind of made them say, okay, like he might be able to play a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
I'll never know for sure, obviously, and I'll never ask because it's none of my business.
Yeah.
It's coaches do what coaches do.
Yeah.
But I noticed after that the coaching staff for Northeastern was kind of following the Cape Cod Whalers around the games, and I didn't know who they were watching still because I hadn't heard a word.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, I'm in math class last period. This is the beginning of the year. So this is like September of this is like school year. And I'm in math class last period. And my dad calls me. My dad never calls me in school.
Class,
so I'm like,
yeah.
Oh no, something's wrong.
So yeah, it's something that.
So I asked my math teacher, because I was always very close with my teachers, always spent a lot of time after school with my teachers. I asked her, like, hey, do you mind if I jump out real quick and take this call? She's like, yeah, that's totally fine. So my dad gets on the phone with me and he goes, hey, we're gonna go up and visit Northeastern on Wednesday. It's a Monday. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, we're gonna go take a visit there. And I was like the school? And he was like, no, like Coach Keefe, who's the head coach now at Northeastern, but he was the assistant and he was in charge of recruiting back then. He was like, Coach Keefe just called, like they're gonna bring you around, show you the hockey facilities and whatever else. And it's a really special moment. I think I asked my dad, like, hey, Dad, do you think they're gonna offer me? And he goes, I think they're gonna offer you.
Oh,
wow.
And so this is the funniest thing ever, right? So we go around the tour, and Coach Madigan, who's actually the head athletic director now over at Northeastern, took care of most of the tour, brought me around. Coach McLaughlin was there too. And at the end of the tour, they brought me into the office. And I sit down, and it's just me. Coach McLaughlin and my dad are kind of lagging behind, so I sit down with Coach Madigan, and all the trophies are on the table in front of me. The bean pot, the hockey yeast, like all of them. And he picks up the bean pot, and he's kind of holding it, and he goes, here, do you want to hold it? And I reach out to hold it. And I'm like, no, I don't want to touch it.
The pressure.
And so we kind of sit there, like we're talking, whatever. Like it's all 3 coaches and then me and my dad, and we're sitting on the couch. And they look at me and they go, and I was kind of like in and out, like I was kind of blacking out because it was like a crazy experience for me.
Yeah.
And they look at me and they go, well, what do you think you're going to be ready to make your decision? And I go, well, I think after my first year of juniors.
Oh,
and my dad looks at me and goes, no, they're asking you if you want to commit. And I go, oh no, right now. Like I'm ready right now. Like I want to make a decision. And like, we shake hands, and it was a really, really special experience. And I remember, calling some guys after and telling them what happened. And it was just such a special time. Especially because, did you guys ever do that thing where it was like you write a letter to yourself in 8th grade, then you read it like when you're a senior or whatever, and it gets mailed back to you?
Yeah, we did do that.
Not long after that, I got my letter from myself from like 4 years ago. And it was like, are you committed to a Division I school yet? Because that was always my dream.
You're like, yes, I am.
And I had to, but the other thing that I had to realize was like the commitment was not the goal, right? Playing for the team was the goal. And so I'm still working towards that goal like right now. And Northeastern, fortunately, has gotten even better and better and better over the years. And they were consistently like top 15 this past year. in the country. So it's going to be such an incredible challenge to be in the lineup, especially over, like guys, like I said, like Gunnar Wolf-Fontaine, who's a Nashville Predators draft pick. And, we have an incredible goalie, Devin Levi, who's just stood on his head at development camp. I think he was at Buffalo Sabres development camp. He's just unbelievable. And it's so special for a public school kid like me to have this experience and to still be representing Arlington as a town. I feel like I do this, and the way I think about it all the time is like I want to do it for not only my brother, but like every kid that maybe can't afford to go to a prep school, so they have to stay at the public school. And it's possible. Like you can do it. You got to be surrounded by the right guys, and you got to play good at the right times. But it's possible, and you can do it. And but yeah, no, the recruiting process was really funny. It's kind of funky for me because a lot of kids like kind of go through consistently. Like their offers get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I had never had an offer, and then I went straight to like Northeastern bringing me in, which was just incredible because like I said, time was winding down to try to pick a school, and I was trying to figure out like, hey, like, do I want to try to go do a Division III and get a great education, or kind of just settle and go to school, just like school. And I'm very fortunate that Northeastern offers the best of both worlds. Their education is second to none up there, and I think I'm going to study criminology and sociology over there, which is going to be fun.
Awesome.
But yeah, it was a really, really fun time. But like I said, the goal was not to be committed. The goal was to play in a game.
Yeah, so you're still on that path.
Once you play in that first game, then the goal is to then play in the second game. Play good enough that they put you in again and again and again. And so yeah, it's gonna be really hard. It's gonna be a really hard challenge just because so many unbelievable players that come through Northeastern as a program. And I think I'm ready though to finally get there and kind of be myself again and play my game.
Let's go.
Hey, and they found you at some high school hockey showcase. You scored 5 goals.
Yeah, like you heard it. You just they'll find you. So that's really powerful. Dave, you got anything else to say?
I think it's really cool how in hockey, a lot of times you commit or get drafted and then you go somewhere else. So like you're saying, you're surrounded by these people who know that there could be big things in the future, but they still have to work for it. Hey, you're committed to Northeastern, but if you don't work every day, you're not going to get it. And you don't see that in a lot of other sports because in almost all the other NCAA sports, if you do well or just sports in general, if you do well in high school, you go play Division I, where you've had to grind for a couple more years in juniors, but you've just developed that much more as a player, and I think that deserves a lot of respect.
Yeah, it does. Mentally, physically, dealing with injuries.
The back injury. Yeah, because I've had a bad back injury too. Yeah. I'll talk to you more about it, but it's tough. No,
in juniors itself, like I told you before, it was so hard for me mentally and physically, and there were times where I didn't think that I would. I thought it was the end of the line for me in terms of athletics, and really just like kind of lost myself. Yes. As a player and as a person. Like I became very angry, and I was very like if you said something that kind of ticked me off, like it was like I kind of snapped really fast because I was just angry at myself. I was angry at the world. I was angry at my coaches, my teammates, my body. Like I was just upset all the time, and it was so hard for me to kind of bring myself back to earth. And going from being a very successful high school hockey player to kind of be in nothing, kind of be in dirt in juniors was like the craziest mental challenge I've ever faced in my life. And thankfully I made it through, but the challenge isn't over. Like I always say, like it's just not over. I gotta go to school now and be ready to face another even bigger challenge.
Yeah. Oh man, we wish you the best of luck.
I appreciate it.
This is an amazing conversation.
Yeah, and we'll be following just to see how it goes. Not even just sports, but just when you jump to college, what it's like. Because that's such a difficult school academically, and you'll probably be working internships at some of the best companies in Boston. So you've got everything lined up to be excited for. Let's go. Do you have any big takeaways? Are you really excited for anything that you want to share? Just any last points we might have missed?
Yeah, no, I'm just very excited to be a part of the program at Northeastern, and like I said, the teammates and the guys over there and the coaches, like they've been very, very good to me so far, and I'm looking forward to continuing and being a part of an incredible culture over there. And just takeaway that I learned growing up is anybody can do it.
Yeah.
And no matter what people say or what people do, like. The only thing that matters is the opinions of yourself and whatever college coach is trying to recruit you, and that's all that matters. The opinions of other people, like it's not relevant.
Yeah.
You know, it's just not relevant. It doesn't matter. So just kind of block it out and keep pushing forward.
Yeah, and find blue.
Find blue.
Find blue.
Anthony,
Find blue.
thank you so much. That was awesome.
Thank you guys for having me. It's been an awesome experience. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. You can speak as well. I mean,
Yeah, he's got it.
Put together,
Inspiration,
yeah,
Arlington,
communicator right
Massachusetts.
here.
Let's go.
Let's go.